Welcome back to another episode of the Burn Factory podcast. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Burn Factory podcast. I'm your host, Priest, joined by my co-host, my brother, the one and only Phoenix. Say what's up to the camera.
What's up, y'all?
This is called the Burn Factory for a reason. I was literally caught on fire. 50% chance to survive, but through that, started this podcast because I believe every single person out there on this planet goes through a burn moment somewhere in their life.
You heard Priest say a burn moment. So a burn moment is a super hard time in your life that you just have to fight and overcome. And me and Priest believe that every single person on this earth go through burn moments that truly make them who they are. And as you guys know, on the Burn Factory, we always talk about Priest living to fight and fighting to live. Our guest today truly lives to fight and fights to live. He was a 3-time state champion wrestler. Not only that, he was a 6-time Triple Crown winner. He's an undefeated fighter who just made his UFC debut as an underdog and got the first round finish.
So please give a welcome to Isaac Dulgarian.
Yes, sir. How we doing, boys?
Good. How are you doing?
Welcome.
I'm amazing, man. Couldn't be any happier.
So you said something that's very fascinating to me in Phoenix yesterday. You own 3 bumblebee beehives, or honeybees, sorry.
Yeah, honeybee hives.
What made you get involved with bees?
Man, so I was in college, and I started reading about honeybees, and I got sucked into this like tunnel, and I couldn't get out of it. So like I started researching, reading books, and basically ended up buying some beehives and trying hands-on. And ever since then, it's kind of been a hobby of mine that eventually I might turn into a business.
You should. You probably make a lot of money off of that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and it's just hard with my fighting career and everything, but it's a good hobby right now.
You also said that you get 180 pounds of honey.
Yeah, just off of 3 beehives. So every year you can get like probably about 60 pounds per beehive if it's a good summer. So
that's crazy. We might have to install one right there.
Get some real honey. Are you looking to expand it eventually, maybe?
Yeah, eventually, once I get some land and stuff, I want to have probably like 100 or something, and really start supplying people in the local area back in Kansas City with the best honey in the market.
Do you have a name that you want the business to be called?
It's called Marcane Sweet Shop.
Marcane Sweet Shop.
That's my middle name. That's the name my stepdad used to call me by when I was growing up, and I like it.
If you guys are in
cool.
Kansas City, you know where to go. Go get some honey. But on like a day-to-day basis, how much are you like interacting with these bees?
So when I'm back home in Kansas City, as you know, right now I'm training in Denver, so not a lot, but you don't really mess with them too much. It's about once every couple weeks, you'll go check on them, make sure everything's going good. There's a bunch of little details in there you got to sort out, but it's every couple weeks. Treat them twice in the summer, and then you just kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Is there like a bad time period where you don't get enough honey in the year?
Yeah, so like this summer, actually, it's been really dry, and so the honey flow everything's been dying early. You know, like I planted a pollinator garden, and all my sunflowers, they bloomed and died really fast. So it's been a hard summer. It's been dry. Everything's been dying back home in Kansas City. So I'm projected at about 45 pounds of honey this year. We'll see where it goes. I might end up with more, but.
Why do they die off so fast? Just because it's dry?
Yeah, everything's just dry. Like you have to really start like water everything and by yourself. Normally back home you can just rely on the weather and you'll get your rain and stuff. And that's basically how I do it. I don't really water this stuff a lot. Every once in a while I do, but it's just been so dry, man. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. Like me, I'm terrified of bees, as most people probably are out there. So with you, like, how many times have you been stung?
We know you're terrified.
Oh, we know I'm terrified.
Yeah, so plenty. Last year I got stung probably about 20 times.
God.
But it was mostly my mistakes. You know, I'm a newer beekeeper, have like 3 years experience now. And it's just all about being calm and gentle. You know, those bees are not very aggressive unless you kind of like rattle them around or anything like that. Actually, yesterday I was sitting up at the hotel and I was petting a bee
Petting it?
Yeah, I have a
Eee.
video on my phone. I have to show you. I was just petting the
Oh.
bee, and it was just chilling. Like
Really?
they're not aggressive. People don't really realize that they swat them and try to get them off and away from them, and that's
That's,
That's what he does.
That's what they think.
Oh, that's
Wait, so
crazy.
they're pretty social then. I mean, to be able to be pet.
Yeah. I mean, they're gentle creatures, man. They're just misunderstood by a lot of people.
Oh,
You know, I've never gotten stung by a bee. What does it feel like? What is it?
it's I don't know. You can't even explain it really.
I would describe it as like a burning pain almost. And
Okay.
the thing is when you get stung, a lot of people, they don't realize that the stinger keeps pumping venom into you after you get stung. So the stinger leaves the bee, it kills the bee, and then that stinger's stuck in you, but it's still pumping venom into you. So you need to get that stinger out immediately.
Could it
Yeah.
kill you? Or
I mean, some people have like an anaphylactic reaction to it. So I always keep EpiPens on hand. Some people can die from just a single bee sting.
Really.
But
That was always my fear. It was
Yeah.
like my first bee sting. I was gonna like drop dead because I didn't know if I was allergic or not.
it's kind of rare, but I know a couple people that are like that. They're like deathly allergic to bees, and they just want to stay away from them.
Okay, so Isaac, actually on this podcast we do use the acronym BURN. So each letter is kind of a different time in your life. So we're gonna go to B. B stands for beginning. So take us back to the beginning, your childhood. Was there any burn moments that you had to overcome?
Oh man, so I was a kid. I was born in Fort Scott, Kansas. Grew up in Paola, Kansas, and I started competing in grappling and wrestling at a very young age. I would say one of my burn moments growing up as a kid was I was very passionate about learning in school and everything until I got about 5th grade. And then after I hit about 5th grade, I turned into a psycho. Like I was a crazy kid crawling around on the floor in middle school, just messing with people, sticking forks in electrical outlets, just being bad, doing whatever I could to not be in school and go home so I could like play out in the woods. So I grew up outside, just never really stationary and just messing around.
What kind of led to that moment? Because you said right around 5th grade it just completely stopped. Was there something that changed it?
Man, I'm not really sure. I think it was just my maturity and me not wanting to be there like at school. Because like before that, I loved being at school. It's kind of weird. And then just one year it just flipped out of nowhere, and I was just like, I'm not with this. I want to go outside. I want to build stuff. I want to plant food and do all this stuff outside. I don't care about learning math or anything like that.
Yeah.
did you play any sports growing up? Or
Yeah. I played a little bit of everything. I did soccer, tried baseball out a little bit, played football, was really good at football, and wrestled. And then I also, when I turned about 10, I started riding dirt bikes a little bit.
That's right. You were actually talking about some crazy dirt bike stories yesterday whenever you guys were sitting down having coffee. And there is one unfortunate experience that happened, but we'll talk about that whenever we go to you. But what age did you start getting into wrestling?
So my grandpa grew up. My grandpa was a coach his whole life, basically, and my uncle wrestled as well. So I started wrestling when I was 8 competitively, but I'd been in a gym since I was born. Like I was always at the gym while my grandpa was coaching. I was always watching him coach these high school kids, and I'm like a 3-year-old running around on the mat, just trying to grab their legs, and like I don't know what I'm doing, anything like that. But about the time I turned 8, he put me in, and I was very competitive right off the get. I wrestled 1 year as a novice wrestler. I made the state tournament in the open division for 8 and under, and then after that, I believe I took second at state the next year, and then I won. I just took off, man. I was a very natural athlete at that.
At what point were you like, man, I can really do something with this wrestling?
Man, I would say about 12. I started really
That early?
Yeah, I
Wow.
started really competing on like national teams. So like my grandpa, he sacrificed about everything he had. He sacrificed his jobs. He sacrificed all his money, everything to take me to the toughest tournaments I could possibly be at every single weekend. One weekend we'd be in Texas. One weekend we'd be in Alabama. One weekend we'd be up in New Jersey. It didn't matter. We were going to the toughest tournaments everywhere, and I was wrestling over 2 times the matches of everybody else.
How hard was that 2 times?
Man, it was a lot. So what he would do is basically he would have me in my natural division, like let's say I think it was like 12 and under, 96 pounds or something like that. And then he might throw me in the 14 and under division at the same weight, or he'll keep me in the 12 and under, but bump me up a weight class. So I'd wrestle 2 weight classes, 2 brackets at the toughest tournaments in the world, and for kids, right? And I think that really molded me to who I am today, because it taught me so much about mental toughness and stuff. Because I mean, there's times I'm trying to take my shoes off and go home, man. Like I'm a kid, and it was a lot.
Yeah. So you said your grandpa was the one who got into it.
Yeah.
To this day, what's your relationship kind of like with him?
Oh man, he is everything to me, man. He's like my dad, my mom, my grandpa, my first coach. The man literally has shown selfless sacrifice to me, and I wouldn't be in anywhere close to the position I am without him.
Mm-hmm.
What made you guys kind of get so close?
So basically, my dad passed when I was a young kid. I was about 3 when he passed, and my mom worked very hard, but she was also young and had a lot of kids. So I kind of lived with my grandpa a lot, and he's really the only fatherly figure I had growing up as a kid. So he kind of took me under his wing, man, and just really saw potential in me. He always seen how great I could be. He always seen how tough I was, how driven I was, and he really truly believed that I had everything it took to be very good.
And you did. You became a 3-time state champion. What was that like?
Man, it was good. I still kind of have a bad taste in my mouth from it. Some people know in my post-fight interview and my UFC debut, DC kind of talked about it, so that was really cool. I got disqualified as a sophomore in the quarterfinals. I was wrestling a kid that was average. He was pretty good, but I was beating him very bad, and I kind of hit this duck under and got behind him, and he tried to like flip. He hit a Granby flip from his feet, and he landed on his head and like broke his neck. And so the referee like stopped it and thought that I slammed him. So that's why I'm a 3-timer instead of a 4-timer. But it's kind of all working out. Like I've done a lot since then. But it was just kind of it was a crazy moment, man, because you're at the Kansas State tournament. There's how they run that is 4A, which is there's 4A, 5A, and 6A all in the same arena. And basically, so there's all these people, man. Mm-hmm. And as soon as this ref stopped the match, the whole arena went silent. It was crazy because everybody was watching me. Like I was supposed to be the next 4-time state champ. And so everybody's watching. I was the best, one of the best to ever come out of Kansas wrestling. Besides Eric Aiken, who's one of my head coaches for my wrestling team back home. And so this whole arena stopped, man. It was like frozen in time, and it was just crazy. I was out there looking back on it. I was just out there confused as of like what's going on. And then I realized that my dream wasn't going to happen. And so that was a pretty shocking moment. But I did come back on the backside, took 3rd place. And then after that, I won state the next 2 years and kept going.
During that difficult time of you getting disqualified, was there something after the match that kind of brought you some positivity?
Oh man, no, I was really broken, man. I was really broken. I was a 15-year-old kid. So like this is my dream since I was 8 years old. I'd trained every day for this, and I felt like it got stolen. So I was broken. I wanted to go home. I didn't want to do this, like finish the tournament out. But that's kind of where my grandpa kicks in. Like he always made me finish. He never let me just go home because I didn't want to or because you lost or anything. He made sure I was there, made sure I always showed up. And so I came back through the backside of that bracket and really just tore people up. I made everybody pay kind of for that mistake happening.
That's the way to do it. And I think that's a testament to today. You just got to keep going no matter what kind of cards you've been dealt with.
Exactly.
You got to think about it during those tough times. It makes you who you are today. And you kind of got to thank those tough times because say you did become a 4-time state champion. Do you think your life would be totally different now?
I think that would have been enough. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
These things happen for a reason, and I think that would have been enough for me to maybe I would be living a typical lifestyle with, you know, a nice car, nice job, but not doing what I love.
Like enough as in like you would have kind of gave up wrestling and went on to a different career path?
Yeah, probably would have ended up just it would have been enough for my competitive spirit at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I probably would have got back into things, but I would have had time off, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today skill wise.
Well, so that's a crazy beginning to your life. Your grandpa was a super helpful role model to who you become today. It's time to go to U, and burn. It stands for unfortunate. Just like how I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, I was unfortunately caught on fire in a school science experiment that went horribly wrong and blew up like a bomb in my face. And I was immediately rushed to ICU, where I spent a week there, had 7 surgeries over that week, one every single day, and a 50% chance to survive. But whenever I was in the hospital, that's where I found my burn moment. I'm a competitive golfer, so I had my parents and my brother go get my putter, and I put ball after ball after ball into this glass jar. And I truly believe from the bottom of my heart, if that moment, that burn moment doesn't happen in the hospital, I don't have this podcast, nor am I talking to Isaac Dulgarian.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And just talking with you yesterday a little bit about your story and the hard times that you've overcome, are there any unfortunate burn moments that you could share with us that really built you to who you are today?
Okay, yeah. So first off, much respect to that. So when I get burned, I turn into a baby, man. I'm a tough fighter, but that's one of the worst pains I can imagine. So much respect to that.
thank you.
As far as me, the biggest burn moment of my life to me was losing my father at 3 years old. My dad was one of the best football players. He had the potential to be in the NFL. He was one of the best football players in Kansas. He passed away at 21 years old from either we don't really know the story, the full story, but he had a cardiac arrest is what's on his death certificate. There's a story that said that he was poisoned by one of his girlfriends and their boyfriend. There's a story that he overdosed on drugs and nobody called until it was too late. Anyways, when the ambulance got there, they tried to resuscitate him where he was at. Didn't work. They put him in the ambulance. They're trying to resuscitate him. Didn't work. They get him to the hospital, and they spent hours and hours and hours trying to start his heart again, trying to bring him back. He's a young kid, 21, one of the best athletes in the world, and he just didn't make it, man. It was just too late. He was already foaming at the mouth and everything, and there's really nothing that they could do. So he passed away at 21 years old. And to me, that is my burn moment because it really changed the trajectory of my life. And I don't mean that necessarily in a bad way or a good way. It could have been either. You know, my dad had me and then left my mom to be with another woman and had a baby with her. You know, and so he wasn't always there for me and my family, really. But I do have a lot of memories of him from when I was 3, so it's kind of crazy to see. So, like, I remember the last time I seen him at 3 years old. I still remember it to this day, like, clear. My mom took me to Dollar General out in Fort Scott, Kansas, and my dad showed up. He would walk through the snow to come see me. He would walk anywhere to come see me. But he showed up and he asked if I could go to my uncle's birthday party. I told you the other day my uncle's only 2 years older than me. Yeah. And he asked if I could come to that, and then he asked if I could go fishing. Or if he told me he was going to take me fishing. And that was the last thing I ever heard from him, the last thing I ever seen from him. And then there's like a gap in my memory where I don't remember anything. So I think it's like the trauma from losing him and my mom freaking out and all that stuff. But yeah, man, I think it changed my life for the better because, you know, sometimes things change, and that's kind of where my grandpa took over. My grandpa was one of the most mentally tough people in the world. Like, he went to Vietnam at 18, was drafted, and kind of just molded me to the person I am today. So my dad's side of the family, they are some of the best athletes. They have the most natural talent in the world, man. They're freak athletes, but they don't have the mental toughness to back it up. It's very easy for them to fall into traps, drug use, all sorts of things like that. And then my grandfather's side, my mother's side of the family, they're mentally tough. Like, they're Armenian. They were born to fight, right? So I think that's where my life changed a lot, was having him there as my father figure. Even though it's sad not having a real dad there to experience a lot of these things with. He's an older man, you know, but also he molded me to who I am today.
Do you feel like it's on you to kind of break that calling of your family to put together the mental toughness along with the athletic abilities?
Yeah, man. That's something that keeps me going. It's something that keeps me pushing when I don't want to compete anymore. I feel like I'm the black sheep of my family. I love my brothers and sisters to death, but I feel like I'm the one that's supposed to be here. I'm the one that has the mental toughness, that has the athletic advantages, that has the heart and the will and the drive to keep pushing and keep going no matter what life throws at me. So I'm the type of person, I don't need a lot. I don't need a fancy house, a fancy car to survive. All I need is some land, a tent, and a garden. That's about it.
Do you feel some pressure from that, being the black sheep of your family?
I never really thought of it. I think pressure is something that you put on yourself. And so the biggest pressure to me is just, I want to be in a position where I can actually take care of my family. So that's the biggest pressure to me. For me personally, I don't care if I'm taken care of. I want my family to be good. And so that's the biggest thing. That's the only pressure I really feel is like, hey, I want to be able to like give my grandpa back. I want to be able to tell him I don't need help anymore. I don't need you to keep working. He's 73 years old and still working. I mean,
Wow.
And he might be working for himself. You know, I know he likes to have a little bit extra money to go on vacation and stuff like that. But I know that he does work so that if I need help in anything in life, that he's able to be there and support me like he always has. And so that's where I'm like, man, you need to stop working. Like I'm trying to do this by myself now, and it's about time I do.
Yeah. Tell you what, all those tough burn moments can be really good burn moments to help motivate you and catapult you. I'm sure during days you're sparring and stuff like, I just don't know if I want to be here. But you look back on those and you're like, yes, I belong here.
Yeah. And in the sport I do, man, it's important to have strong whys. You have to know your why. If you don't, when things get hard, you can't remind yourself of why you do this. And I think that's one of the biggest things when you're in the middle of a fight, in the middle of adversity, is just understanding your why you're here, why you do this, why you love it, even though it sucks. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
During those tough burn moments too, is that what led you into mixed martial arts, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I fit in with like the corporate world or anything like that. So fighting is my way to support my family. Like I don't fight to be cool. I don't fight for likes. I don't fight for social media clout to get girls, none of that stuff, man. I fight so that I can provide for my family and do something that I love. So in my eyes, you know, I believe you're only guaranteed this one life, and you're only guaranteed it. And, you know, I don't want to waste my life working 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, just to barely skate by and have a good weekend. You know, I don't believe in that. I believe max you should be working 4 or 5 hours a day and really dedicating time. Like if you have kids, like imagine going to work all day and you get off at 6 o'clock. Now you come home, you have kids, you got to make dinner, you got to clean your house, all this stuff. You don't have time to really raise those kids. You know what I'm saying? And that's a story we see a lot in today's world. Like I'm about to be a father, and all
Congrats.
I want. Thank you. And all I want to do is be there for my kid and teach them the ways of the world that aren't seen, that aren't in the public eye, that aren't necessarily deemed as cool. Something I learned about the other day, I was reading a study. They were talking about how 96% of people cannot name 10 native species of plants or trees in their local area.
Really?
That's crazy to me because plants and all these things, they're medicine. They're there for a reason. They're not there for you to look at and just be there. They all have a purpose, and I think that a lot of that's forgotten about in today's world with like pharmaceuticals and everything like that.
You think about it, if there's no trees, we're not breathing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Honestly, I probably couldn't even name 10. If I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I don't think I could name 10 off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't. But what was that moment like whenever you found out you were going to be a father?
So, man, it was so crazy. It was so surreal. So, I've wanted to be a father since I was about 20, and I grew up raising my siblings, helping out my mom a lot with them. And now I'm 27. I just couldn't find the right lady, the right lady that I actually trusted and the right lady that sees the world in my point of view, I guess. And so basically, before my UFC debut, she got pregnant and she hid it from me for 6 weeks. I had no idea. And in my post-fight interview after I won my UFC debut, I talked about how I'm trying to get paid so I can start a family. I want to be able to take care of that family, and that's why I'm here today. That's why I'm here tonight, is basically what I said. So crazy. Fast forward to the next day, right? She has a postcard and her pregnancy test and tells me that she's pregnant. And I was just like, wow, the timing of that is so crazy. I couldn't really believe that I just said that on national TV. And then the next day she's like, hey, you're having a family.
It's just adding onto the list of whys now, though.
Oh, definitely.
You see it all the time in the UFC. As soon as someone becomes a dad, it's like they completely shift. Like now there's something worth fighting for more than yourself.
Yeah, I think it's a focus thing. You have someone else to support. And some of these guys, not all of them, but some of them, they do it to be cool. They do it they like to party and have fun and all this stuff, which is cool. But whenever they have a kid, they're like, oh, I really got to get this paper. I got to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's how a lot of people are able to kind of lock in there.
Yeah. And you have an ability to like take yourself out of fighting a lot. Like you go, you train, you do your hours during the day, and then you get to go home and just alleviate all that pressure and all that stress with being with your child.
Yeah, because, fighting's a dirty sport, man. It's hard, and I think that having something to kind of fall back on to bring you back to reality is very good. Like, because for me, I'm not like a super aggressive person in like my daily life. I feel like I'm fairly laid back, kind of just chill, don't do much. But when I do train or compete, I'm very aggressive and very competitive at the same time. And it's very good to have something to fall back on. So that's why I like bees. It's just kind of something calm, like really calming, and that buzz, that hum of the bees kind of just calms you down. And just basic things like gardening or going on a hike in the mountains, like just hiding out, getting away from the harsh realities of the world. I think that's a big thing, especially as an MMA fighter, because it's just so chaotic.
Yeah,
For sure. It probably just brings you peace in the mind, going out there and just looking at trees and seeing the bees.
Yeah, because the first thing I do every morning, I wake up, stretch, brush my teeth, and I go beat people up. I go train, try to better my craft. So that's the first thing I see when I wake up. That's one of the last things I do at night is train. So it's very good to have something in the middle to kind of just snap you back.
Yeah. So Isaac, fast forward to now, like the last 18 months have definitely been a really unfortunate time for you. So how hard has been the last 18 months?
Man, I thought it was going to end a lot quicker than 18 months. It's been crazy, man. The last year and a half for me, basically, to start at the beginning, I got signed on Dana White's Looking for a Fight. Basically, long story short, got the Nelk Boys deal. They canceled it on me. for no reason. And so I spent about 4 months trying to get that deal worked out with them. So it didn't happen. And then it was about time I started looking for another fight. I was like, this isn't going to work out. So I started looking for another fight. And then my gym got shut down in Kansas City, Glory MMA. All my friends, that's my family. That's the first gym I started out training at. Like I walked in 3-4 years ago. That's the first gym I started training at. So all my friends are there. People I consider family are there. And then one day I show up to the gym and they tell me I can't go in. Like I get an email from the UFC. They're saying I can't go in there. Otherwise I'm going to lose my job. So basically at that point in time I had, I believe I had a fight lined up. Yeah, I had a fight lined up with Dan Argueta. I think I was 6-7 weeks out, and they told me I can't be at my gym. So I'm like, I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
Like I have no idea where to go. And I just so happened to get in contact with Coach Montoya out at Factory X, and he told me to come out, man. And so I came out, like kind of on a whim. I stayed with a family friend out in Colorado. Was driving across Colorado every day to get to the gym, and I kind of completed that last 6 weeks of the camp at Factory X, just getting used to the new partners, new coaching, everything. Like you got to realize I'm making a UFC debut. This isn't anything else, and I have to switch gyms 6-7 weeks before. And so I kind of get really close to the end of camp, and I tear my knee. Last week, we're about a week and 2 days out. I was training with Brandon Royval. He's about to have a UFC title shot here soon. And neither one of us did anything wrong. Brandon didn't do anything wrong. It was a freak accident, and I tore my LCL, full thickness tear of my LCL. So that means basically all the way through. And so the crazy part is the same day I had ophthalmologist appointment scheduled, they told me that I had a hole in my retina when I got there. And so they said that required laser surgery. So at the same time I have a torn knee, I get told my eye has a hole in my retina, I have to have surgery, and I can't fight. So I'm like freaking out at this point because I trained my whole life for this moment, and it's just not working. Like I was going to fight with a bum knee. I was like, I don't care. Even though it wasn't the smartest idea, I didn't really care. And then my eye happened, and I basically was forced out of the fight. So took 8 weeks off, like the doctor said, for my knee, about 4 weeks for my eye, and got back into training. Was looking to get another fight scheduled soon. 2 weeks into training, tear my knee again. That's
same
another
one?
Yeah, same one, same spot, everything. So I tear it again. That's another 8 weeks off. So we're approaching basically 16 weeks completely off and 2 weeks in the middle of training. So like I had to take those 8 weeks off, and my body's just withering away. Like I can't run, I can't bike, I can't swim, I can't really do anything. I'm just kind of wasting away at this point. Like I'm active, but I can't do anything high intensity. And so basically I was like, I healed that up, got through the 8 weeks, got cleared, and then I got my UFC debut that I just made against Francis Marshall set up. And basically I had to rebuild my body from being in tip-top shape to dropping completely off, just withering away, to back to even better, you know? So lots of work went into that, and it's just been a freaking roller coaster, man, the 18 months. It felt like it wasn't going to stop. And then I finally made that UFC debut, and I'm like, yes, I finally did it. I'm finally here. And I couldn't have been any more blessed with the performance I put on either.
No, it was a spectacular performance. It was awesome. But did you feel like relieved whenever that fight day came? Just like, it's finally here. All the injuries that I've been through and all the tough times, did you just feel relieved?
Yeah, I could say relieved. I was really grateful to have that opportunity, and finally, like, everything's coming together to make it all happen. You know, it was hard for me mentally to go through that and just keep staying the course, because there's plenty of days I would wake up and I'd be like, why the hell am I even doing this? Like, I'm not getting any money to train. All I'm doing is spending money, and I can't even fight. Like, I just keep getting hurt. I keep having to switch gyms. I ended up having to buy an RV to move to Denver to train and stuff like that. Like I've had to make all these sacrifices to continue my dream, and it felt like a bad dream. Like it was just never gonna end. Like it just kept going and going and going, and no matter how many times I tried to make it right, it wasn't going right. But at the end of the day, I finally made it to that debut, and I was so happy, man. Like it was crazy the amount of joy that came out of me from everything that I'd been through to get there. And then I look down, I see UFC on my gloves. I'm like, ooh, you just get the chills. You're like, I'm ready. I've survived a lot harder things than this. This is 15 minutes of my life. And I put everything I had into the 5 minutes I had to fight.
Yeah.
What was it like though, going in the back room and seeing your last name on the UFC shorts, and did you feel like you belonged there?
Yeah, so I always knew I belonged there since I started training. I've always got to train with UFC guys, and all my teammates, Jeff Molina, David Onama, Kevin Kroom, all these people that I watched when I started fighting as an amateur, I watched all of them rise up through the pro ranks and get into the UFC, right? And so I would train with them, and I was fairly competitive with a lot of them, and so I'm like, oh, they're in the UFC. I need my shot, and so I kind of just kept training, kept getting better, kept fighting, and so when I did get there, I already knew I belonged. I just had to prove it to everybody else.
What was that feeling making the walk?
Man, so I was getting told by everybody, you're going to be nervous. And I was like, man, I don't know. And they're like, bro, trust me. Like, these are vets that have 8 fights in the UFC. They're like, bro, trust me. You're going to feel it. Like, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, it's cool. You don't got to be a tough guy. You know what I'm saying? And when I made that walk, man, as soon as I stepped in the room, I felt like I owned every single item in that room. I felt like I owned the microphones. I felt like I owned the cage, the canvas, everything. And you can kind of see it in my demeanor and swagger on my walkout. Like there were no nerves. There was no anything. This was my time.
Do you think it was all those tough times that brought you that peace stepping in there?
I think it definitely helped. I think just the confidence in myself to overcome anything that's thrown at me. I think that's why I was able to make that walk so confidently, just because, I feel like I can't be broken in life, and life is a lot harder than a fight, man. That's a small glimpse of what we do. It's just a highlight. You know what I'm saying? So life is a lot harder than a fist fight, man. That stuff's easy.
And then you had an amazing performance. Yeah. And you got the first round finish as an underdog too, which is insane. So we were there, we were front row, we were yelling. I was like, yeah, no, stop the fight. They let the dude take like 35 more punches. I was like, what are you doing?
Crazy.
Dude,
yeah.
It was pretty wild. I definitely heard you guys. I remember as soon as I stepped in the cage, you guys started screaming, and I gave you guys a little look.
Yeah, it was dope. And then your girlfriend turned around and was like, "Yeah, let's go." And I was like, "She's cool."
Would you say you were more nervous for your UFC debut or the Dana White looking for a fight?
I was more nervous for looking for a fight.
Really?
I remember specifically, I actually have a picture of it. I remember specifically, so whenever I was a kid and I would get nervous, I would grab my grandpa's neck and I would like kind of hang my hands on his neck and like almost like stretch my shoulders out. And I just like dip my head, and we would talk, and he would give me advice about how I was feeling and what I needed to do and how much he believed in me. And so I got really nervous before that fight. I was fighting a dude that was 6'4", in front of this packed arena, and Dana White was there, and not only that was on the line, the Nelk boys were there, and I was probably about 2 days off of a nasty breakup from like a 4-year relationship. It happened like right before that, like 2 days before I fought, the day before weigh-ins actually. So I'm like cutting weight. It was all bad. Anyways, I walk out and to the arena, and everyone's like, I walk out and people are just screaming. They're like, Midwest Choppa, like they're screaming. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I walk over to my grandpa and I put my hands on his neck like I used to, and I kind of bow down and I just look at him and I'm like, I'm nervous. I was like, I'm nervous. And he kind of told me that I was just made for this moment. Don't let your nerves kind of affect your ability to compete at the highest level and be yourself, you know, like don't shut down, don't hide, don't cower because you're nervous. Like you've been doing this your whole life. It's not anything new. You're competitive, be competitive, and don't worry if you win or lose. That's one of the biggest things he ever taught me is don't worry about whether you win or lose. Just be result driven and the rest will take care of itself. And that's something that once I moved into the MMA world, I started hearing more and more coaches saying, and I'm like, that's pretty crazy. My grandpa's been telling me that my whole life. But yeah, I was pretty nervous. I was like almost shaking.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Fighting in front of Dana White with your whole career on the line.
But again, that was like before the fight. As soon as my music started playing in my walkout, boom, nothing.
It just goes out your body.
Full competitive mode, just locked in. Nothing matters. I can't see faces. I can't hear words. Like I'm just like locked in. It's just me. I get in the cage. It's just me and this other guy. Can't even see the official standing right here.
This portion of the Burn Factory podcast is sponsored by Phoenix Salon Suites. Please visit Phoenix Salon Suites at PHENIX Salons SALON Suites SUITES.com to find one near you.
As you guys may know, I was tragically burned in a school science experiment by my teacher that gave me a 50% chance to survive. And through that, I have to wear sunscreen every day for the rest of my life. And as being a golfer, the brand I trust is Kula.
Man, look at this bottle. Kula. This just screams beaches, waves, and sun. So let's give this a smell.
Ooh, the nice
man.
wind of a choppa can of breeze.
This is smelling like Hawaii, our favorite place. So next time you guys need sunscreen, go get yourself Kula. You'll thank us later. All right, Isaac, well, it's time to go to R. R stands for ridiculous. You've been through some really unfortunate burn moments, and I commend you because you're still here, you're still going, and you definitely have a very bright future. But R stands for ridiculous, kind of lighter, kind of funny. So all your fights, all those packed out arenas and fans, was there some ridiculous burn moments that happened to you? Maybe a fan yelled a crazy thing at you, or you got a weird message or something that you can share with us?
Oh my goodness. So let's start this off. I was in Kansas City, my hometown, at UFC Kansas City. And so I get a lot of love back home. You know, like a lot of people know me. A lot of people know my fight style and everything like that. So basically I'm at UFC Kansas City and this one fan walks up to me. He's like, hey bro, you're CJ Vergara, right? I just seen your fight last weekend. He was all hyped to meet CJ Vergara. So shout out CJ Vergara. A lot of people think I look like him. I'm a little bit bigger, a little less chubby, but it is what it is. Anyways, I'm like, no man, you got me confused. I'm not him. I'm a fighter though. I fight in the UFC. And he's like, what's your name? And I was like Isaac Dulgarian. And the dude just looks at me for a second. He's like, I don't know you. And then he turns around and just walks away. And I was like, that kind of stung a little bit,
damn.
man. I was like, that kind of
hurts
stung.
me.
I was like, I'm a lot better looking than CJ Vergara. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward, he should have known your name after August 12th. So
Definitely that, man.
He'll definitely know your name now.
A lot of people will, man. I just got to keep winning fights, keep performing, keep being myself, and everything will come around.
Yeah.
were you almost kind of like shocked whenever he said, "Oh, I don't know who you are"? Were you just like, "What?"
See, I can't even do it in the tone that he was doing it. He did not care. He did not care about me. He was like, "You're not CJ Vergara. Get out of here." He's like,
Oh, most of the time they'd be like, "Oh, cool, like yeah,
Yeah.
let me get a photo."
I
Still,
know, right?
like you're expecting
Right.
him to do that, and then he's just like, "Oh, okay."
yeah. It was really funny. I remember I looked over at my girl and we made eye contact and just started busting out laughing. I can't believe that just happened in my own city too.
I know, damn. I'm sure you got a lot of love though, still going there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I had so many people, like I had watch parties all over the place for my debut and stuff. I didn't Nobody even told me about them. They just reached out after. They're like, bro, like I know back in my hometown, they had a watch party at the country club. They're like, bro, that place hasn't seen that much energy in like 10 years. Wow. Like people were just so excited. And that's just small town stuff, but there's things going on all over the city. And I was just so grateful and blessed to have that many people support me back home and that many people that actually believe in me. Because when I was in high school, a lot of people knew what I was about. Like I didn't get messed with by anybody from any other schools. Nobody really tried to like bully me or anything. They just knew I was strictly business, and it's carried over since then. And I think that's inspired a lot of people back home to just, whatever your calling is, whatever you're doing, if you stick with it, you can really be one of the best in the world at whatever you're doing. You just can't give up. That's what separates the best and average. You know, it's the people that don't quit even when there's adversity, even when you're told you're not going to make it, even when things aren't looking bright for you. It's the people that just keep it pushing, keep it moving. Those are the people that end up succeeding.
What's your biggest advice for people who've gone through some similar stuff as you have?
It's literally that, man. Just keep your head down. Keep moving. I always say still moving, still pushing. And just not letting what other people think cater to what you're doing. You know, like it doesn't matter. Like I've been told by some coaches that I thought loved me that I'm not ever going to be anything, you know, just because I didn't want to compete at their school before or anything like that. Like I've had so many people try to bring me down, it feels like. And you got to associate with people that are like-minded as you. You got to associate with people that want the best for you and that don't get jealous when you do succeed. You know, just keep pushing, keep going through all the bad times, and eventually you're going to find that little sunshine peeking through the clouds, and eventually you'll be on your way.
I'll tell you what, the mind is the most powerful thing. Anything you put your mind to, you can do it.
It really is, man. A lot of things in life are mental, you know, a lot of things. You're tired. You don't necessarily need a coffee. You can mentally push through that.
I do.
I'm guilty of that.
I need to.
I'm guilty of that too. You know, I have a lot of experience with like people that are addicts and stuff like that. A lot of that's mental, and their psyche changes the more drugs they use and stuff like that. They need some help first, but after that initial withdrawal period, those guys, it's all mental. Like they have to be mentally strong and stay on the right path. So I believe everything in life is mental. Diet, even, like we talk about diet, you can easily cheat your diet. You can go get fast food, whatever you want. But to me, eating healthy is important, and mentally, I'm not gonna crack and go to McDonald's or anything like that just because I know how unhealthy it is for your body. So it's all mental, man.
Yeah, the mindset is crazy. Actually, we've just started working with a mindset coach. Shout out Mindset Mike for helping us out. And he's really just trying to like rewire our brains. And like when you look at a competition, instead of like something that you don't want to do and you kind of get that cold feet feeling, instead it's like an opportunity just to go out there, try to do your best, and let the results fall where they fall.
Yeah, man. A lot of people cower from big opportunities. I'm more the type of person that just kicks the door in. Like, no one's gonna open the door for you. Sometimes you literally just have to kick it in.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. Mind is powerful. You got to use it for the right things. So, but all right, Isaac, it's time to go to N. And it's kind of two parts. It's like now and next. So what are some burn moments you're going through right now? And what are some burn moments that you see coming in the future?
Oh, man. Right now, one of the tougher things in my life is being away from my lady. She's back home in Kansas City while I'm out in Denver training. And it's really funny because I was always pretty independent until I met her. Like I never had anybody doing my laundry, anybody really doing much for me at all, cooking for me, anything. And so once I met her, she keeps my diet on point, makes sure she's counting my calories, everything like that. She does so much for me in my fight camps, like everything that I don't have the energy to do, she's on it, right? And So now I'm having this like shock of her being back home, and I have to do all these things. Like I have to do the dishes, I have to do like clean this, that, and the other, do the bedding. So that's one of the hardest things for me right now. Like it's so crazy to think about because, like I said, no one ever did anything for me, and then I have this lady step into my life and start doing a lot of things, and then now I'm like almost helpless.
To come back, I need you.
Yeah. So that's one of the hardest things is just being away from her while she's pregnant, because I want to be there for her as well and help her out when she's sick and stuff like that. So that's one of the biggest things.
When is the baby due?
I want to say April 7th.
April 7th.
Yep.
April 7th. It's a good
So,
date.
Possibly April Fool's baby. You never know.
That'd be cool.
That'd be really cool.
When's her birthday? April Fool's.
Jokes going around.
But so she's gonna stay in Kansas City until the baby is due, or
No, she's gonna end up coming back out to Denver for a little bit closer to the end. She's just got to get through a couple important doctor's appointments back home, and then she'll come out and be with me. Hopefully during my fight camp. You know, I don't have a fight signed yet, but while I'm in fight camp, she'll be there to help me out a little bit, and I'll be there to support her. So.
Your girlfriend's also a fighter too.
Yeah, she's a nasty fighter, bro. She's very good. She's strong. She's about as strong as me. And after she's pregnant, I think she might end up in the UFC, man. After we have this baby, like all she's got to do is win a couple fights. She's so good, such a good human. She belongs there as well. I think she can beat a lot of the girls at 125 in the UFC. So I believe she can be there only if she wants to, if that's what she wants to do. But she works with like foster kids and stuff like that. So she's very passionate about helping out these kids that don't have homes and trying to change their life, because a lot of them have some problems that need sorted by a professional. She's so good at working with these kids that don't fit in with the rest of society.
Do you think she'll end up wanting to be in the UFC? Is that something that she'll want to do?
Yeah, she loves fighting.
She does?
Yeah, bro. Like, if she doesn't fight for a while, she'll be trying to beat me up. And, you know, like, she's a sturdy girl. So, like, I actually have to fight back. I got to use some man strength to get her off.
Well, you always got a training partner.
I do. Yeah. She was actually one of my first training partners when I moved to Glory. I remember it. She always tells the story because it's funnier when she tells it. But I walked into Glory, and you know nobody wants to train with a new guy, and so she walks over to me and asks if I'll be a partner, and I literally like looked across the gym trying to find another partner, and I looked back at her because there's nobody, and I was like, sure. So I ended up going with her, and she beat me up for a couple weeks, to be honest. She beat me up as I was transitioning into MMA, and then eventually, obviously, I'm a male athlete, and I kind of surpassed her a little bit. But, yeah, she's good, man. So that's just a funny story. When we started fighting, or when I started fighting, she was my first partner, and now she's my lady.
Wow, what a story.
Full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when are you hoping to get back into the octagon?
I definitely want to fight one more time this year. And God willing, I make it through that fight injury-free. You know, I'd like to fight one more time before I have a baby. So hopefully once late this year, once early next year, and then I'll kind of have the middle of the year off.
I got to get you on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, last
Yeah.
pay-per-view of the year in December.
Yeah, bro. I
Yeah.
only want to fight in arenas. You know, I got to fight in the Apex. It was an awesome experience, but I feel like my style belongs in an arena. You know, I'm a finisher, a natural finisher, and so I think that it's about my time to have the opportunity to fight in an arena.
Was it weird fighting in the Apex?
It wasn't super weird. I mean, it was quiet, but like I said, you guys were there. I had like 7 other people show up for me. And so that was like, I think it was like over 10% of the ticket sales they sold there. So I had a nice little crowd for the small
Yeah.
venue.
That's
I-
for sure.
You know?
They've done a good job, though, of letting fans come in, because I feel like at the beginning, when it was COVID, there was no one in there. That had to be super weird.
Yeah, it was like, you can hear whispers, you can hear a pin drop.
Yeah. Being that up close, though, it's crazy. Just hearing those
can fully
kicks,
hear
hearing the punches, it's gnarly. I don't think I could ever step in the octagon.
Yeah, I got to see like cage side footage from one of the other people that came up there, and it's just so crazy. Like you can hear the elbows like clacking off the skull, and it's a nasty sport.
EBGBs.
Hey, that's the game though. You got to do what you got to do.
I think everybody can fight though, man. I don't think everyone should fight in the UFC level, but I think fighting's a very, very primal thing. If you pay attention to nature, everything fights. Every animal fights. You know, birds fight, lions fight, bears fight. It's not anything new. So it's weird to me when humans act like, oh, that's just violence. Da, 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 da. Like, no, every animal fights. It's ingrained in your DNA. And some people just are better at bringing it out. Some people are more primal than others. But I think everybody has that in them if they have to. It's just a lot of people don't really take care of themselves physically to be able to do that.
I've always kind of wanted to take a fight. Just one little setup fight in an amateur league where I can just kind of feel those nerves and feel what it's like to make the walk.
I think you should, man. I truly think fighting, I think everybody should be in a fight, to be honest. I think everybody should be in a fight. Just because it teaches a lot about yourself. Like for example, we have football players coming to the gym all the time, right? A lot of football players, not all of them, but a lot of them think they are more capable than what they are, right? They're a lot bigger than me. I'm only about 160 pounds. You get these guys coming in, they're like 220, 6 foot something tall, and strong athletes. But next thing you know, I'm on top of them, punching them in the face, and they're like, I can't get up, So I don't like it when people walk around and think that they are more capable than they are. They just don't know. So that's why I think everyone should be in a fight, just so that you kind of understand yourself and understand what it is. I don't even go out to the club anymore because I know a lot of people, they get a couple drinks in them and they start being testy, and I'm just not with it. I don't need to get in trouble. And you guys, a lot of them don't realize who they're talking to, what they're doing, anything like that.
Yeah. Would you take a fight, Priest?
If the money's right.
You don't get paid as an amateur.
Priest be the first amateur to ever get paid. You get like $10,000 for an amateur fight.
No, I mean, why not? You only live once, like how you said. So
hey, like I said, man, I don't think you should be fighting anyone that's like a UFC caliber fighter. There's other people that want to just be in a fight. They want to try it. They want to feel that. And I think that's why I think there's a matchup for everybody. It's just the fight game's kind of corrupt, man. You got to have good matchmakers and know some people. If you're just getting thrown in there and you don't know anybody, you're going to get matched up with the killer. But obviously, you guys don't have that problem, but some people will.
I would need a little like softball pitch. Hit out of the park.
Underhand it to me.
just let Ryan stay still. Boom.
Yeah, let me just hit you. But all right, Isaac. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. You just spelt burn in your life. Tell the audience where they can find you, your social medias. I know you got that merch out there too. So
yeah. Follow me on Instagram. It's Isaac_Dulgarian. I'm most active on there. You can follow me on Facebook. It's just Isaac Dulgarian, and my Twitter, same thing. So follow me on there. I'm going to drop some new merch here in about 2 months. Just working on design ideas and getting the best quality for all my people out there. So follow me on there, tap in, and I'll get you all set up.
You heard the man. Go give him some love and go give him a follow. Like always, please visit my foundation as well, the priestjamesfoundation.org. Again, the priestjamesfoundation.org to understand why this is called the Burn Factory.
Before we get out of here, Isaac, we do have a gift for you. It is the Black Label Edition hoodie. I can't reach it. I'm a little far.
This guy?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So actually only guests get it. So it's a Black Label Edition hoodie. So wear it loud, wear it proud. And like always, like, comment, and subscribe at the Burn Factory Podcast. And we'll see you guys for the next episode. Peace.
All right, guys, we're here with Isaac Dulgarian, who just spelled burn in his life, and he is now the Burn Factory Podcast champion. Midwest Choppa.
Look at that thing. Beautiful.
First of many more belts to come, but Isaac, thank you for coming on the show. We hope you had a good time.
Definitely.
You're an inspiration to me and Priest for sure, and a lot of people out there. So we appreciate you coming on.
For sure. Thank you guys for having me, man.
Of course. Thank you for coming.